Hey humans, it's Hannah. Welcome back to the second channel. This is your personal scary stories channel where I read your scary stories that you've sent me via email out loud, and I pretty much blind react to them for a video and try to debunk some stuff or give you explanations or just empathize. You know, I'm here for you. If you want to send in your own scary stories, directions for how to do that are always in the description down below. And yeah, what did you guys think of the merch drop? I hope you guys like the merch. I got a lot of really good feedback. Everybody has really been loving it, and it's meant so much to me. I'm so glad. You're always so scared to release anything to your audience, let alone something that's so close to your heart. So I hope you guys are liking it. And if you haven't yet and you want to, the drop for the merch will always be down below. The link will be down there. There's lots of cool stuff to choose from, lots of styles, tie-dyes, lots of different cuts, all that. So yeah, if you are interested in that, that'll be down below, and let's get right into it. This first story starts, "Hi Hannah. First, I want to say that I'm a Swedish woman, so sorry if my English might be a bit lacking here and there. My name is Agnes. Pronouns are she, her, but wouldn't be mad at they, them. I don't mind you using my name, or if you want a funnier name, use my YouTube name, Annoyed Kitten. Haven't posted on that channel for ages, life got in the way, but I have used that channel before to spread some knowledge about Scandinavian folklore and also pre-Christian Scandinavian stuff. Oh, that's cool. So, as you can understand, I'm a nerd and I love supernatural things, and one of my guilty pleasures is watching supernatural videos on YouTube, but I am also a skeptic, academic, and enjoy the heck out of watching you debunk them. I love your channel, and I have muttered more than once towards some of those supernatural videos that people should learn that cats, foxes, and such will get in absolutely all kinds of crawl spaces and abandoned houses, and also that people in search for cryptids need to learn how and also that people in search for cryptids need to learn how a horny moose will sound. Ain't that the truth? Or I will add how cougars can scream and sound like a woman screaming too. That one too. Or how many scary noises badgers and shit can make. With that said, I still have a story, one from my previous work at a prison, and I've had a hard time explaining. If this story at some point manages to be in one of your wonderful videos, I would love to hear your ideas on what I might have experienced. Okay, Agnes, I can't promise that I can explain it, but we do have a whole community of people that would probably also be willing to help if I can't. The TLDR, me as a Swedish correctional officer at a max security prison, heard a lot of ghost stories about that place, always brushed them off. But then I experienced a very strange thing one time, hearing footsteps in an empty building, and one of my coworkers heard it too. We checked the whole building, but never found the reason for those footsteps. The story. A couple years ago, I worked as a correctional officer at one of Sweden's max security prisons. The oldest part of that prison was built at the beginning of the 19th century as a correctional home for delinquent boys, which were boys aged 10 to 15. The horrible things that have happened at this place during almost 150 years is very real and also very, very sad. Many people have died there from unaliving themselves, being unalived by others, and also the torture the boys and young men had to go through during the first 50 years of those 150 years is nothing pleasant to talk about. Most of the old buildings are now torn down, and a modern prison has been built on top of it, but one house from 1876 still remains within the prison's walls. That house is now used as a gym and as our locker rooms for the people that work at the prison. It still has some of the old isolation cells remaining up on the top floor though, still with graffiti drawn on the walls by desperate young boys locked in there without light, food, or even much warmth. Okay, Agnes, I feel like you could carry this channel for weeks with the stories that you probably have from being a security guard at a maximum security prison. That is banana pancakes. I want all the stories from you. I want to hear the prisoner stories. I know they'd probably get really, really dark, but I want to hear from the other correctional officers. I want to hear about the scariest things you've seen that are not paranormal related. That must be so fascinating. And I don't mean happy. I don't mean that that's like, you know, fun entertainment. I'm sure it's absolutely terrible, but I could listen to you for hours, I bet. Over the years, I heard so many stories from other guards, and it has not just been the old building, but all over the prison. Lights turning on in rooms that are empty, voices over the wall-mounted speakers from cells that have no inmates in them, shadows in the corner of the eye down the culvert tunnels, etc., etc. Recently, Hannah Alonso, you know, the anti-MLM creator that I'm obsessed with, who inspired me to make this channel, inspired me to make these videos of personal stories. She's an early education teacher, and one time she corrected somebody who said etc. wrong, and now I'm literally questioning my entire life. Oh no, I'm so self-conscious now. I've been saying etc. for ages, and I've probably been saying it wrong, haven't I? I have anxiety.
Etc.
Etc. Etc. Okay. So it's not with an X sound, etc., etc., etc. And I apologize if I have been grinding somebody's brain for years by saying it the wrong way, because I say that word a lot and I should probably learn how to say it correctly. Only because that's important to me to say things correctly. Anyway, okay. I always kind of explained those stories away as people having a vivid imagination, straight up lying to try and scare us other guards, or the stories have other natural explanations, like faulty wiring of the speakers, or someone just forgot to turn off the light before leaving the building, etc., etc. But, well, I experienced one thing myself that is very hard to explain for me. This happened in January, which means that outside of the building were a lovely thick meter of snow and around negative 15 degrees Celsius, that's 6.8 degrees Fahrenheit. Thank you for adding the conversion. That was nice of you. This is relevant to the story, but I will get to it later. Me and one of my coworkers, let's call him Jimmy, were in the old building at the gym one evening. We both were on a break and had gone down there to get some frustration out because we both had had a seriously annoying inmate to deal with during the day. Suddenly, we hear heavy footsteps up on that floor with the old isolation cells. The building should be empty except for me and Jimmy, so we got a bit surprised and we turned off the music to listen again. Footsteps again. After debating for a bit between each other, I grabbed my radio and contacted our central guard room, checking that we really were the only ones in the building. They confirmed it. Nobody except me and Jimmy have entered that building for the whole day. At this point, me and Jimmy, that was a big muscular dude that worked with the prison's task force, started to feel very uneasy. Our thought was not supernatural at all at this point. It was rather that someone that wasn't supposed to be there had gotten in there somehow, despite all the cameras and fences and secured doors. It could be an inmate that perhaps tried to escape and then realized how effing cold it was, how much snow he had to deal with, and decided to just go into another building to seek warmth again. So we both decided we needed to check because that's our job. We must have looked very silly in our exercise clothes doing a full sweep of that place because, of course, we didn't change back into our uniforms for this. If an inmate had seen us, he probably wouldn't have been much of a threat. He would probably just be dying from laughter over the big tough prison guards that came through that door. Jimmy with his full task force belt on top of his gym shorts. Me with a big colorful t-shirt with a super adorable unicorn and the text, "Satan loves you." We searched the whole building. Nobody was there. We contacted the central guard again. Nobody had gone in or out. They checked the video. Nope, nothing. They sent out some other guards to check around the house. Not a footstep anywhere in the snow. The only ones that had used the gym or the locker rooms that day was me and Jimmy. To go back to the fact that animals sometimes get into where animals should not, this could not be the case here. It's a prison. It has walls, fences, cameras. We had to be on the complete lockdown one day because there was a fox setting off an alarm at one of the fences. So we needed to know that not even a fox or a cat can get in without setting off some kind of alarm. Also, if there was an animal, the other guards should have seen footprints. The only other animal that could get in that wouldn't set off the alarm would be a bird of some sort, I would imagine. That would be crazy if it did get in, but perhaps a bird or a squirrel. But even in the tiny likelihood that one of those animals made it in, they're not going to make footsteps, right? You know, so that I do totally believe you there that it wasn't an animal, because even if it was a bird, they can't make a footstep sound so loud that you're both like, who is up there? You know what I mean? Anyway, okay. Old houses sound. That is the fact. I grew up at an old farm, and those wooden floors often sounded like someone walked on them with big clogs, but it was just the wood resetting itself hours after someone walked on them. Wood will do that, but these floors are not wood. They are stone and brick. I have never heard about stone and brick resetting like that of a wooden floor. And even if they did, nobody had been there for the whole day. We are talking about 8 hours or more before someone else had walked in that building. Me and Jimmy talked about this. We both heard it even twice, and we were so convinced that we heard footsteps that we sent our coworkers in negative 15 degrees Celsius or 6.8 degree Fahrenheit weather and a meter of snow to check the outside while we checked the inside. We wouldn't do that if we weren't very convinced of what we heard. So please, if anyone can explain these footsteps for me, I would be more than happy to hear it. This has been bothering me for years now, and the explanation that it was ghosts is much worse than if it would have been an inmate or a cat. Thank you for bearing with me through this long story. I have so many other scary stories, but this was the first one that came up in my mind to send to you. Thank you so much for the amazing channels, and I hope your little doggo gets some treats. Don't worry, she gets so many treats. I actually have had to cut back because I feel like she's getting too spoiled. Best wishes, sincerely, Agnes, the Swedish ex-prison guard. Agnes! That's a crazy story. I'm obsessed with it. Thank you so much for sending it in. Please send us your other crazy prison guard adventures, because I really like your writing style. And I feel like it's kind of rare that people get to hear stuff directly from prison guards, even ex-prison guards. So I find that super fascinating. As for your story, I have no idea. What I appreciate about this story is all the details that you gave, right? That first of all, it was just you guys in that building, the way that it could not have been an animal. It's helpful when not only one person heard it, but two people swear that they heard the exact same thing. And I totally believe you, because you also sent everybody to go on a wild goose hunt, you know, that you thought that an inmate had gotten out or something like that, and that you had to basically put the whole thing on lockdown to try to figure that out. So that is super interesting. I would be really curious to know if anybody has any ideas in the comments, because as I predicted, I don't know. The only thing I can think of is something else about acoustics. Like usually that's kind of my go-to if there was some sort of weird acoustics thing in the old house. But it would also make sense. Let's just say ghosts are real for a second. Under that assumption, it would make sense that it would be a ghost, because you said that that gym was renovated from the original prison that was 150 years old, where a ton of people have been basically tortured and also killed in there. There's no doubt that if ghosts are real, that prison is haunted, right? So I don't know. Sorry, might have been a ghost. I don't know what to tell you. If you guys want to help Agnes out in the comments, if you have any other plausible explanations, it sounds like she would be happy to hear it and possibly a little relieved to hear it. So, okay, moving on to story number 2. This one has a photo along with it. Hi, Hannah. My name is Jay, he, him, and I'm a super big fan of your content. I've been watching since 2021. Even if you don't read this on the channel, I hope you enjoy the story and you're a super cool dude. Oh, sorry, you're a super cool dude. Either way, I don't care either way, but I don't mind being called dude. Anyway, this story is about the first time I went to hang out at my town's graveyard alone. I often go on walks and started going on walks in order to get better physically. So one day I decided to head to the graveyard because I've always just walked inside dry creeks or random fields. I was tired of bug bites and the hot weather. This happened during the summer. So I decided to find somewhere cool and nice. It was a windy day that day, and there was this area that I could sit under, just pure white, but covered in a crap ton of mud. It's right in the middle of the graveyard where I can see from all ends. On the right and north side are the newest graves, and the rest are the older graves, which are in the far back. There was this statue above a grave, which was a little older. I have a photo, which I will attach to this email. It's a beautiful statue. She looks down to the ground as if she's gazing upon those below her. Well, I took this photo that day, and when I finished taking the photo, the statue was just gone, like completely. I walked around the entire area to see if I missed the statue or was losing it, but nah, the statue was completely poof gone. I came back the next day and she was back. I'll be honest, the story maybe does sound scary or crazy like all the rest of the stories you may have read, but it really tripped me out around then. I think I may have just been stressed and maybe hallucinated her being gone, if that's even possible. But when I came back the many times, the statue was back right where it was. I don't know, man, kind of weird. Thank you for reading. So your story, you said, well, I took this photo that day, and when I finished taking the photo, the statue was just gone, like completely, as in it like disappeared right in front of your eyes? Or you took that photo and came back later and the statue was gone. Either way, I can only imagine, again, I wasn't there, so I cannot confirm 100%. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. But the only like plausible explanation I can imagine is that you thought you were in the same place, but kind of got turned around in the graveyard. I know you said you were in the center and could see all points of the graveyard, but perhaps there was another sector, like maybe you walked off. Again, this was assuming you meant you took the picture and then it was gone a while later, that you walked off and it looked like you were in the exact same place, or you were kind of out of it, or you were kind of on autopilot and you ended up at a point where you thought that was where the statue should have been, but it wasn't there. She was actually somewhere else. Again, like I said, I wasn't there, so I don't know. But the other thing is, if it was the next day, if you meant that you took the picture and then she was gone the next time you went and then she was back the following time that you went, people ever work in graves, would they ever move a statue like that to clean it or something like that? Like, I know that sounds so crazy, but I'm just wondering if there's any sort of explanation like that somebody has in the comments. Regardless, very pretty statue. I do like it. You should go back all the time and like make sure that she's there and that she doesn't just walk off every now and then. So interesting. That is a different story. Thank you so much. Okay, story number 3 has a video clip with it. This is a really interesting video clip and it's like a ghost clip. So yeah, this one should be interesting. Okay. Hey, Hannah, thanks for picking my story. I hope it won't disappoint. This is my name and I would like to remain anonymous. This video is a bit old. It's from Corona times, August 2020. Doesn't that feel like that was ages ago, like decades ago? It was taken by my dad, who was directly recording the screen from the CCTV with his phone. This took place on my parents' workplace, which is a science center, and they were called by the guards who wanted to report what they saw. During the vid, the guard and my mom are speaking. It's not very relevant, but just in case, this is the translation as it's in Spanish. So I'm going to read what they say in the video, and then I'm going to have Taylor insert the video clip in here so you know what's being said beforehand. So in Spanish, the guard says, "There it comes. Did you see that?" And this person's mom says, "It just passed." They're referring to the small light that passes by. "In my humble opinion, I believe it's just an unrelated insect." The guard replies, "Even the light changes. It remains there and it slides and it goes away."
Ahí viene. ¿Ya lo vio?
¿Pasó?
Es que hasta cambia la luz. No. Se llega ahí, y anota la copa y se va. Se desliza hacia allá. Ya se fue.
So originally they were freaked out by the flying, glowing halo thing that appears at the corner of the screen, claiming that it was a UFO. Now, my dad, who's a scientist, is a very skeptical person. We're talking he has experienced some stuff and still doesn't believe anything. So he's convinced that the quote-unquote UFO is nothing to worry about but a trick of the light combined with some object. At first, I foolishly suggested a drone, but it would have to be a very tiny and weird moving one. I posted this video to Reddit a few months ago searching for an explanation, and it came out as a surprise that no one was paying attention to the glowing halo, but instead the mist that appears on the background. And they were saying that it was a procession and that allegedly you can even see children running around, which is oddly fitting because I didn't mention in the post that there's a very old boarding school right next to the center. I never really paid any attention to it, and personally, I don't believe this theory. Plus, a tiny part of me believes it's an effect of the shitty camera, but now that people mention it, it does seem strange, considering we don't live in a cold nor humid place in the slightest. Instead, it tends to be a bit hot. I'm not saying that it's necessarily paranormal, but when I watched the video, it did not look like a camera glitch to me. It looked like mist in the environment. For the record, I'm also a skeptical person myself, the type that questions everything but still wants to believe, so I would love to hear some logical explanations, as I don't believe it's anything paranormal as of right now. Thank you so much for reading. I have been a fan for a very long time. Your videos are the perfect mood to work on my art commissions, and I'm always very excited to check any videos you put out. Please take care, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. And that was from Anonymous. Thank you so much. Love some video evidence. I am with Reddit. I find the mist way more interesting, in my personal opinion. The orb thing does not look like a UFO or anything weird to me. I agree with your dad that I think that looks like something reflecting light, and it's in the way of the camera. Oh my God. Winnie has her head on my lap. She will not. She's so good. She hates it when I talk to the camera. She hates it when I film videos. But she is being so sweet. But that is Winnie on my lap right now. Anyway, okay, so for this video, I agree with your dad. That looks like a glitch to me, or that looks like it was either something really, really close to the camera reflecting light off of it. In my opinion, I don't know what it is, but I do feel like there would be an explanation if somebody was able to watch the camera while it was recording that moment. It could be a leaf, or it could be a branch, or it could be like a bug with something stuck on it or anything. It looks big, but remember, if it's touching the lens, something tiny could look really big, and it's probably just reflecting light off of something, in my opinion. As for the mist, that I do find weird. I think mist is possible in humid areas too, I believe. But I do admit, if you live in a warmer place, that definitely looks really spooky to me, in my opinion. And somebody saying that there were children, you said, and allegedly you can even see children running around. Some people saw children running around, which I didn't see in the video, but maybe I missed it. I do find that really interesting, but I like the mist especially. I think that's really spooky. Is it a ghost? I don't know. So if anybody knows about weather phenomenon and they want to say in the comments if mist like that is common in certain climates, even when it's not cold, or if they have any ideas of what that little orby light thing could be, please share. Please share. Okay, thank you so much, Anonymous. We're going to move on to story number 4 for today, which starts, "Hi, Hannah. My name is Tony, and I guess I'll start from the beginning, as I truly feel that it would give a bit more context to why I feel like this is something sinister going on. When I was around 5 or so, I got a doll for my birthday called Tammy Telephone Talker, who would move her arm, mouth, and say dumb phrases like, 'cool,' or 'you're my best friend,' and yada yada. Stuff that a 90s small kid would think is cool. She used to stay on top of my and my sister's dresser when I wasn't playing with her, and in the middle of the night, I would hear the mechanism of her arm moving, and she'd randomly say, 'change my batteries.'" I'm getting Furby flashbacks. "Change my batteries" over and over. I got to the point where my parents were sick of me waking them up as I raced to their room in the middle of the night that my dad took the batteries out. My parents also took the batteries out of our Furbies when we got them because they were so sick of the Furbies making noise without being prompted. They were so creepy and so obnoxious. She still did it even after that, so I tried to throw her out. Oh my gosh. Okay, that took a turn. She would still turn on in the middle of the night and said, "change my batteries," even when her batteries were taken out. Oh my gosh. But every day when I come home from school, she would be right back on my dresser. I even hit her in the burn barrel to hopefully get rid of her, but again, she was back. She was my real life Annabelle and the root of my lifelong fear of dolls and animatronic type toys. When we moved to a house with an attic, she found herself up there. That's when the real fun started. At that house, my sister and I shared what was an old coal room off of the kitchen. It basically was just a small room, but the size of a laundry closet without a door. I would be woken up by what sounded like people whispering, but I could never make out what they were saying, and I assumed that it was my mom watching TV in the living room. So I would go in there only to find that our TV wasn't on and everyone was asleep. I just started sleeping in the living room because I was terrified of the voices. My sister hasn't said anything about hearing them. And then comes the blood drips down the wall between the kitchen and the living room. I can't tell you how many times I was in trouble because my mom assumed that I squirted ketchup on the wall. I'd clean it up, and after a few days later, it would be back again. Fast forward to the home I'm at now as an adult with a teenager of my own. When I moved in, the hatch to the attic was nailed, screwed, and bolted shut. At one point, maintenance went up there and I found out that there was plenty of storage, so of course I took advantage of it. Small 2-bedroom house with no space for anything. Anyway, at the last time I went up there, I saw a wooden chair pointed towards the vent on the side, and it was positioned as if someone was facing in that direction. I walked closer and saw an old black and white photo of what looked like a teenage girl in a beautiful dress, like a posed photo, not just like someone took a family photo from a personal camera. I told my son about it, and curiosity got to him, and he went to see for himself, but it was gone, and the chair was all the way on the other side of the attic on its side. Weird, but whatever. After that, I would see shadows of a woman back and forth in the hallway where the door to the attic is at night, as well as my boyfriend has spoken to it, believing that it was me going to the kitchen or to my room in the dark. There's also been times where the energy is so negative that it's caused major problems in the house. Out of character, arguments and violence, feelings of dread, etc. I've saged at least once a year and things settle down, then come back up again. Whatever it is, it's slung my ferret and her bed completely across her enclosure. The cat reacts to it in the hallway, and we, all of us, have been woken up with night terrors and just crazy things like that. I believe I caught something on camera in a photo I was just randomly taking, bathroom mirror selfies. I didn't notice it at first until a friend I shared the photo with asked me what was above my head. I immediately ran and took a photo of the same spot, but it's not there, just to see if maybe it was a trick of the light or a shadow or something. We still deal with the old lady in the attic, as we call her, but luckily she hasn't attacked us for a little while. Hopefully it stays that way. I will attach the photos, including the timestamps, to verify the legitimacy, and would love to hear what you could possibly come up with as an explanation, as it's difficult for me as my emotions are tied to the experiences. So this is Tony and her in the mirror with the weird thing above her head. And then she also posted a picture of a similar spot in the bathroom, and to make sure that it wasn't a trick of the light or anything. And yeah, I mean, that is creepy. If you just saw that photo, I definitely would have thought that it was just a shadow. But you're right. There is nothing around to cast a shadow like that randomly in the corner. That is very, very confusing. I'm not going to lie, Tony, I feel guilty, but at first I almost was going to throw out this story completely because some of the details sound so far-fetched that it sounds like you made this up. I'm not going to lie, it does. A few of the details just sound like too out of a movie to be real, such as the doll thing and the blood on the walls and everything. But as I read on to your story and how you do sound scared with the photo and the details and how there's a new house, I do believe you, and I'm really sorry for doubting you. But I will say, I wonder if something followed you. Again, assuming ghosts were real, I don't know if they are, but assuming they are, it sounds like something got attached to you at your old house and has been following you around ever since. I have a couple explanations for a couple things. So for the blood on the walls, I do think that a lot of the time people think that there's blood dripping and it's rust coming from somewhere inside the house. Rust can look like dried blood in a lot of cases. And I do kind of wonder if that could be explained. Maybe that is not attributed to this ghost activity, that something from the pipes leaked or something. And sometimes rust stains can look like that. So that would be my guess for that. For the doll thing, I don't know your sister, but my brain always first first goes to your sibling messing with you. And if your sibling knew you were afraid of that doll, what would be stopping her from every time she saw you throw the doll away, she moved it back to mess with you? You know what I mean? Siblings be like that, especially older sisters. You know what I mean? I have an older sister. I know they like to mess with you, especially when you're a kid. They can be relentless. And so I'm just curious if your sister was that type that might have messed with you and might have just denied it all these years. And I kind of wonder if some of the doll activity can be attributed to that. As for the other stuff, it sounds very, very, very traumatic. And I'm wondering if you've had a priest come in, because again, I say this all the time, but even if ghosts aren't real, fine. Maybe ghosts aren't. Let's say they're not real. Let's say they're not. Maybe they're not. Is it going to hurt to have somebody come and bless your house and do rituals? No, it's not. It's going to hurt nobody. So like, why not? I would be really curious. I think everybody who sent in videos and photos today, including the video of the last story we did with the mist, you guys should post that shit on TikTok. If you don't want to, definitely don't, because TikTok could be a cesspool and you get really mean comments on TikTok. So if you don't want that, I totally understand. But if you do want things, sometimes that kind of stuff can go viral and then you can get a lot of really good ideas in the comments of what people might think this is or logical explanations and stuff like that. Or there's also a lot of paranormal investigators on TikTok that can also tell you if they do think you're experiencing a ghost or not. And so I'd be really interested to know what would happen if you posted those pictures on TikTok. I would take a better picture of the bathroom, because you do take a picture of that spot, but you don't get the corner of the bathroom, and you should retake the selfie. So don't just take a corner of that spot in the bathroom and take a picture of it. Get in that same spot and try to recreate the selfie so that the conditions in which the photo are taken are under the exact same conditions. And if you take that same exact photo and there's no shadow, and then sometimes there is a shadow, like that is going to be a lot more proof, I guess, for lack of a better word, of there being an entity or something following you. So I would say start there. That would be my advice, is try to recreate that photo and see if it just shows up randomly. Again, everybody knows I'm not going to read somebody's story on here and tell them that they're lying or anything like that. To be fair, I cannot promise everybody in the audience that people have not edited these videos and photos and stuff. You know what I mean? I can't promise you that because I don't know anybody who sends these stories in. I have to give people the benefit of the doubt and just assume that they're not. So again, assuming everything in this story is true to your knowledge, as that's the rules for sending in a story, I would say start there. Try to take another selfie in that same spot. Maybe post it on TikTok if you'd like explanations for them. And of course, our community over here will, I'm sure, give you some explanations for some of the other stuff as well. However, if there's no explanations that you can find and the bathroom selfie, that thing has showed up again, I would definitely say get some professional help. Like, if it's not a priest, because I'm not religious, so I wouldn't get a priest, but like you said, saging, or you can get spiritual guides who can help you with situations like that, or mediums who, if you find a reputable one, I'm still doubtful that there's any real mediums in the entire world. However, again, it's like ghosts. I don't know for sure. So if you find a really, really reputable one, maybe they can help you, or just a spiritual guide can help you with that kind of stuff. So yeah. I know my friend Mickey, you guys know Mickey Atkins, friend of the channel, good friend in real life, has had to use spiritual guides in the past to help them with stuff like that. And it has helped. So that's my advice. Okay, story 5. This is going to be our last story for today. Trigger warning, as this story mentions suicide. So trigger warning for that. And yeah, let's get into it. Okay, hello, Hannah. My name is Kat, and I'm a 30-year-old woman. Pronouns are she, her. I'm a huge fan of your channel, and I have been subscribed for over a year at this point. I love your videos because of the dedication and hard work you put into every upload. Thank you. You always tell straight up, and you're skeptical about something or if something was already disproved and shown to be a hoax. I love to put you on your videos while doing chores or when I'm trying to kick back and relax. I find your voice to be soothing and comforting, almost like ASMR, I suppose. I've gotten that from a few people. I do have my calm voice that I could sometimes tap into and make it even better, but I love that. And I also say that a lot, but I have YouTubers that they are to me the same way I am to you, that I also love to put on during chores and stuff like that. Okay, anyway, on to the story. So this took place when I was a teenager. The summer before my junior year of high school, my grandfather sadly passed away from suicide. It was obviously extremely hard on me and the entire family. The person who struggled the most was my grandmother. She was inconsolable and even had to be taken to the hospital to be treated for shock. To this day, no one knows why he decided to do what he did. He left no note or any clues. Oh, that's so much worse. In fact, my grandmother described that it was a good day right up until it happened, until the incident. They had been spending time together and cracking jokes with each other like they always do. I don't remember how long after his passing that the main point of this story takes place, as it's been too many years. I'm so sorry to hear about your grandfather. The not leaving a note or any clues is so hard because you just don't get closure. I don't know if this is comforting or not, but you're not alone. I do definitely think of suicide as a victim thing. Like, suicide is a killer, right? And the people that die from it are victims. It's not necessarily something that they're choosing to do. They're not in the right state of mind if they're going to do something like that. So even if they don't leave clues, and there's been a lot of cases of people who have been perfectly fine or seeming like they've been perfectly fine, have a great day smiling and laughing with their family, and they're really good at hiding that their brain is telling them to do these things. And it's just, you're just not alone. Like, I think that's really common. That's a lot of the time people have no idea that their loved one is struggling so hard, which just makes it really, it's really not your fault. It's not their fault. It's nobody's fault. It's just that, like, I think of depression as a physical disease. Your brain is not working the same way. I have Crohn's disease, and so my colon doesn't work properly, and my immune system attacks itself. I'm not saying the consequences of these diseases are the same, but I think of depression exactly like I think of Crohn's, something I have, or cancer, or something like that. It's something physical in the body that is not typical and is not correct. So I don't know if that helps. I hope it does. I just hope that you guys don't blame yourselves or think there's something you could have done, because I really don't think in a lot of cases there is. I think sometimes it's just tragic, and I don't personally see it as a conscious decision that person is making. They certainly are not in the state of mind to make a decision like that. I think that is the evil thing in their mind that's telling them over and over and over to do something like that. Also, disclaimer, I'm not a medical professional, so take what I think with a grain of salt too, because a professional would know better than me. But that's kind of how I look at it, and that helps me understand it a little bit more, if that makes sense. Okay. Anyway, I know it happened after my grandmother had already moved out of her old place, and it was a trailer park right down the road from my parents' house. She was too heartbroken to continue living at the home that they shared together. That's totally understandable. I spent a lot of time at my grandmother's house, especially after the move, because of how close she was. A very short walk away. I was grieving and trying to be there for my grandmother through her own grief as well. It was a very bad time for my mental health, but I felt like I had to be strong for her. I know if she was reading or listening to this, she would probably scold me for saying that. I'd just remind her that I inherited my strength of will from her and my mother, her daughter. One night around this time, I had a very bizarre dream. Before I describe what I saw in the dream, I want to preface by saying that I don't know what all this means. If it was just my trauma manifesting into a dream, or if it was an actual paranormal dream. I'm a skeptic and an atheist, yet I still don't know what I believe when it comes to this dream. In the dream, I was walking to my grandmother's trailer like I had so often done in those days. To get there, I would walk down my residential road, then take a shortcut through a very small section of bushes and tiny trees, no thicker than my forearm. As I emerged from my shortcut, I would be able to see my grandmother's trailer across the clearing in between the shortcut and the trailer park. As I walked closer, I could see someone walking and pacing around my grandmother's trailer. Needless to say, I felt shocked and afraid for my grandmother. Without thinking, I started walking faster to get a better look at the situation. Once I was close enough to see the details of the man, clearly he turned around and looked at me. I was frozen in place. All negative thoughts and feelings left my mind. I felt an overwhelming sense of calm and peace wash over me. I was looking at my grandfather, the one who had passed on from this world. He smiled at me. It felt so comforting. He brought his finger up to his lips and said, "Shh," before slowly fading away. I know that might sound like something ominous or scary, but I felt nothing but peace. I woke up after he faded away, and I was still oddly feeling peaceful and comforted. Once I had fully woken up enough to sit up in bed, the feeling I felt in the dream faded away, and I started to cry my eyes out. It was a good cry, though, if that makes sense. It felt therapeutic afterwards. I love a good cathartic cry. There's nothing quite like just crying, just letting yourself cry and being alone. Nobody can see you. Oh, it can be very cathartic. To this day, I still feel like that dream helped me cope with the grief, regardless of whether it was supernatural or just my traumatized brain making things up while I sleep. The only other person I've ever told about this dream was my mother, who then went in to tell me about a dream that she had of her late father when he passed away when she was younger. However, it's not my story to tell. Thank you for listening, and I wish nothing but success for you and your channel. Thank you so much. I think that was from Kat. Thank you so much, Kat. I will say, I think this is a beautiful story. And also, I agree with you. Even if it's not supernatural, those kind of dreams can bring us a lot of peace. My grandma, my mom's mom, also passed away in 2015. And I occasionally have dreams about her. Because we don't know that much about dreams, it's very comforting for me to think that maybe dreams are a way for our loved ones to visit us, and that perhaps there's more to that than we really know, since dreams are so misunderstood. I feel like there's a lot we could learn about dreams. I'm not convinced that they're just our imagination sometimes. And I have that same thing where it's like my grandmother doesn't visit me very often, and I almost always have a very similar dream every night. I have very, very recurring dreams, very similar themes in all of my dreams. And so every now and then I will have a dream about my grandmother, and it is the nicest, most peaceful sleep ever. And I wake up so happy because it feels like you got to see them. It's really bizarre, but I get what you mean, because it feels different than a dream. It feels like they really did come and like visit you just for a moment. You know, I don't really know what any of that means either. I have no like opinion on it, but I do agree with you that whether it is just a normal dream or a paranormal dream, I do find so much peace and comfort in our loved ones doing that. So I like to think that they got a little reprieve from wherever it is they are to just come say, hey, you know, to just be like, hey, what's up? I'm still here. I love you, you know. So anyway, condolences on your loss of your grandfather. I know how hard it can be to lose grandparents. They are so cherished, and it's so hard because we get so little time with them as grandkids, you know. So I just hope that you and your family and your grandmother are doing well. Okay, thanks guys. That's going to be all the stories for today. Thank you so much for watching. Let us know your thoughts down below in the comments. If any of the storytellers are watching this video, feel free to add any input or additional context in the comments if you'd like, or, you know, respond to me or whatever. And I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Please like the video just to help the channel. Please subscribe to the channel because this is the only type of video that we make here. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Okay, bye.